Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, please don't forget to like and subscribe and do all of that business. Comment below, share with your friends if you've got any, which I don't believe you do. But yeah, comment your thoughts, share the video, save it, do all those fun things, and subscribe so that you can see more of my lovely face. So today we're going to talk about money. Lots and lots of lovely money. Because apparently the music industry is rich again. Oh yeah, you heard me. We're all minted. We're all absolutely caked again. I don't know if you can tell, I'm actually recording this from my yacht, parked up somewhere in Hackney. But yeah, we're all filthy rich again apparently. Global recorded music industry revenues are up this year by 4.8% apparently. And that is part of a wider trend that shows that revenues have been going up and up and up and up over the past kind of 15 years or so. So, good news then. We're all absolutely rolling in it, right? Except we're not. Are we? Let's have it right. Let's have it right. Just me and you, between you and me. We're not, are we? In fact, could you buy me a pint? So why don't we feel it? Why isn't that being felt in the streets and the pockets of musicians, artists, and music industry people, right? So we're going to do a little bit of a breakdown into why I at least think that is. And I'm going to try and use some genuine kind of data, and some of it's going to be a little bit of kind of guesswork from what I see in the kind of day-to-day world and working in the music industry, running a record label, running a music industry company, and working with artists day-to-day. So, the first thing, the music industry, the global recorded revenues are up 4.8%, right? That sounds good, but that does not take into account global inflation, which last year was 5.8%. If you don't know what inflation is, that's the price of your housing, the price of your cups of tea, the price of your pints, the price of everything, right? And it's fundamentally the reason why you should request a pay rise every year, because everything around you will go up in price, so your wages you should try to keep with that ultimately. So, the music industry has only gone up by 4.8%, inflation more generally is 5.8%, right? So that, in real world terms, means the music industry is actually down 1%. That's what we call actual growth, okay? The second reason I don't think this growth is being felt in the pockets of most artists or the day-to-day kind of music industry person is that the music industry is far more regional now than it ever was in the kind of peak years of the 80s and the 90s, right? In the 80s and the 90s, basically, you had to have a hit in the UK or America or certain parts of Europe to really get anywhere. Now that's absolutely not the case. We've seen that with the rise of, Korean artists, as well as sort of South American artists who have their own emerging markets now, which they can thrive in. Do you know who the 5 biggest emerging markets in the music industry are? India, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. So if I was to say to you, what's your India strategy? What's your strategy for, breaking the market in India? Probably have no idea, would you? You'd have no idea. And I don't blame you. Because you're struggling to get paid by a local promoter in Didcot. Because you're struggling to get paid by a local promoter in Sussex. So you're not worried about what's happening in Mumbai, right? So the global revenue has gone up, but it's much more territorialized. And therefore, a lot of artists don't have quite the same access to this global kind of wealth. The counter to that, though, is that there's a lot of territories now that have a viable music industry that never did before. The music industry was very kind of Western dominated in the kind of 80s, 90s and way before that as well. So that is a net positive, I would say. The next thing, and this is obviously going to get brought up, is Spotify. Spotify is one of the key contributors to the reason that even though global music revenues are up, it's not being felt in the actual pockets of the real world musician, right? Because Spotify has total market dominance in the streaming space, apart from a few select niches, but it's by quite a distance the biggest music streaming platform, right? What happens is that musicians, artists and labels feel the need to dance to Spotify's tune at every turn. Even though they're fully aware that it pays worse than a lot of the other streaming platforms, i.e. SoundCloud, Apple Music, Beatport, lots of other Tidal, right? Artists, labels and musicians feel it's an evil which is for the greater good in order to break their artist, being able to have long-term success with their artist. Then that success needs to have an existence on Spotify because that is the platform that everyone uses, right? That's the way they feel anyway. So therefore, they have to sing along to Spotify's hymn sheet. They feel they have to sign up for things like Spotify's discovery mode, which cuts their revenue in half in order to allow you to reach more fans through Spotify's algorithm. They make you feel like you need to focus your pre-save campaigns on Spotify. They make you feel like you can't do exclusive pieces of music via your fan club or via things like Bandcamp because you feel like that music needs to exist on Spotify. Basically, everybody feels the need to dance to their tune. And look, that would be fine if it wasn't for the fact that Spotify consistently just has artists by the plums and is constantly squeezing those plums to breaking point. And artists don't like having their plums squeezed. I have that on good authority. And the final reason I think musicians and the music industry isn't feeling the wealth is that nobody knows how to spend money anymore. So I'll tell you what I mean, right? It used to be that if you wanted to break an artist or you wanted to do a campaign for a musician or whatever, the things you spent money on were pretty clear. You got in a radio plugger, you got in a press person, a TV person, you put on a tour, you paid for a music video. You might do things like club promotion, depending on the artist, tour posters, recording time, all the kind of bog standard stuff, right? Which basically falls into a couple of categories. Costs of production, of making the music, costs of advertising and promotion, and costs of touring. And that was pretty much it. Now, there's 1,000 different mediums in which you can reach an audience. And nobody really knows which is the most effective. And it's case by case, artist by artist. So one artist might be really, really effective on TikTok. So you might want to spend all of your money there on TikTok ads, influencers, and, different forms of TikTok promotion. Another artist might be super cool, kind of press heavy, like journalists will love them type situation. Another band might have a great live presence. So people are scrambling around. They don't really know how to spend their money anymore. And there's too much guesswork going on, which means too much money gets wasted. Record labels don't have one autonomous strategy for artists anymore. They have to segregate and say, right, that's how we need to go about that one. That's how we need to go about that one. And it means that they are constantly scrambling to be good at too many different things. And it also means that people overspend on things they don't need, like a music video, for example, or a really flashy stylist, or a radio campaign when they've never had any kind of support from Spotify. Do you see what I mean? So yeah, nobody knows how to spend money anymore. So those are my reasons. Firstly, the first reason that we're not feeling the actual coin in our pocket is that the revenue increase does not match inflation. The music industry is far more regional than it ever was, and people don't know how to actually break those markets or have an audience there. Spotify's market dominance means that we feel the need to jump to their tune at every opportunity, and labels have lost track of how to properly spend money, or just there's too many options out there to break an artist and nobody ever sticks to one strategy. So that's what I reckon. That's why I reckon we should be rich, but we're all skint. If any of you are rich, and then if any of you are 4.8% richer than you were last